Greetings, programs. Neo Mega Man back again for part 19 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. We've officially reached Act 4, ladies and gentlemen, and we are on rails now until the end. No more decision gates, but plenty of roller coasters still left to go, so let's dig in, shall we? Excuse me. Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I drop a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much that it happens anyway. Yuko bolts out of her chair with enough force to dislodge her glasses. She barely holds on to them. Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm here to return all these books like I was supposed to. That's great, but I wish you brought them back sooner. It wouldn't be a problem if the library had more copies of everything, but it doesn't, and they act like that's my fault. They? Other students. They can be, pretty pushy. Sorry, it just kind of slipped my mind. It's been a pretty rough couple of days. Oh, I suppose you don't want to talk about it. Yuko meekly turns to the task of logging the books that I've brought back as returned, and she's treating them with extreme care and precision, like she's a bomb disposal technician rather than a librarian. Over the past couple of days, I've been thinking about something Misha said. Of course, I'd thought about everything she'd said, but one thing in particular keeps coming back. She talked about how she didn't want to miss people or think about being apart from them anymore. When I recalled those words, they stopped me cold, like a sharp slap across the cheek. In just a few months, we'll be graduating. Misha and Shizune were nearly inseparable, but after graduation, they might never see each other again. I wonder if that thought is what started all of this. If Misha were trying to talk to Shizune about it, Shizune likely wouldn't think about it at all. It would sadden her, and for that reason she would try to toss it away. For someone like Shizune, who's so quick to suppress her worries, it would be easy. Misha turned out to be more sensitive than she seemed. It would have crushed her, even more so because Shizune's reaction could come off as pretty cold. I don't know if that's how Shizune handled it, but it seems likely, and I can understand why she would act that way. I can also understand why Misha would be troubled by the thought of drifting away from someone who is such an important part of her. I never thought about graduation until that moment. Then I began to think things like, has it only really been less than a year? I started thinking of everyone I met. Not only Shizune and Misha, but everyone else. They were fond thoughts. Then I thought of losing them. Suddenly I could understand Misha's anxieties. It could be nice to talk to someone about it. Actually, I kind of want to. With whom? I guess it's an obvious tinge of apprehension in her voice. With you. Ah, really? Are you sure? Why me? Because you're an adult? That's it? That's... Wincing, she fidgets a little in her seat, trying to get comfortable in a pretty uncomfortable looking way. I guess that means she's okay with it. Is it hard, being an adult? Yes! I don't think I'm that old, though. It's surprising that students now, like Shizune and you, wear stuff like perfumes or cologne. I never did. I still don't use them. By the way, you're not wearing your grape cologne today. Yeah, it wasn't working for me. Oh, that's good. I thought the same thing. Sorry. Yuko looks genuinely sorry, and I feel a pang of guilt. I smile despite myself. A tiny lie like that can come back to bite me in the ass. For Misha, trying to conceal how she felt in order to put on a happy face for Shizune for so long must have been crushing. Someone I know brought up the thought that we're going to be graduating, and I realized that I've never thought about it before. I feel stupid that I could go for so long and never think about these things. I've met a lot of great people, and I've never thought about it, what it's going to be like to graduate and maybe never see them again. There are still ways you can keep in touch. Yeah, I guess. I feel childish. I know everyone's going through the same thing, probably. I bet you hear this kind of problem a lot. No, I haven't been working here that long. I worried about the same thing when I graduated from high school. I didn't go to school here, though. I also miss my friends, and I wish that I kept in touch with them better. I should have tried harder. Yuko isn't really helping me feel better, and she clams up quickly when she sees it on my face. I don't want to look back and have those same regrets. I wonder if Shizune even thinks about that kind of stuff, because she goes on sometimes about how she doesn't want to live with any regret. Wow, that sounds impossible to me. I nod, only halfway wanting to agree. Even so, I think that's kind of admirable, too. Kind of brave. Don't you think so? Well, brave is a new way to put it. Yuko shakes her head insistently. It's true, though, and also kind of intimidating. Geez, you shouldn't be intimidated by high schoolers. I'll try. She turns away to start folding a sticky note over and over. Pretty idle behavior for a university student, but more importantly, I wonder if I said the wrong thing to her. Being around Shizune for so long, I can't stop reading as much as I can in every moment of silence. If Yuko were the type of person who didn't get intimidated by high schoolers, it probably wouldn't be so easy to talk to her. It's all too easy to want to shed some negative quality of yours. When I think of everyone I know, it's those qualities that I like the best. I don't think I really regret it. I thought, as long as I could remember the good times, that was enough. I don't know. Sorry. I noticed a couple of students starting to trickle into the library and decide my time is up. No, that was helpful. I feel like two of my friends are fighting because one of them is taking the fact that we might not see each other again after we graduate really hard, and the other one is probably being stoic about it, which only makes it worse. I don't get how I'm supposed to handle this kind of situation. It doesn't seem like the kind of problem where I'll have to end up taking a side, but it could turn out that way, and then I have no idea what I'm going to do. We should tell them they shouldn't fight. I know, fighting is bad. It's not Shizune and Misha, by the way. Oh, okay. I wasn't really thinking that, though. How embarrassing. Even though I knew it would be, I still feel my cheeks redden. And even so, I still said something so transparent and blatantly a lie. But it could be that sometimes that is the right way. You have any books about people who have to make hard decisions? They have a lot of self-help books. It's funny that I can find that surprising, because I wouldn't have only a few months ago. I meant about, not for. There aren't many, right? Yeah, not many, I mean. Though I feel a bit apprehensive about it, I want to talk to Shizune. I don't understand why I feel nervous about it, and that disgusts me a little. Gosh, we haven't been going very long. It also motivates me to look for her right then and there, although I don't have to look very hard. She's in the council room, as always. Worryingly, Misha isn't with her. When Shizune notices me and looks up from her paperwork, the first thing I ask is where she is. I don't know. There's so much uncertainty in her answer that I can't just let it go like that. She's missing a lot of school. Are you the attendance police? That's really strange, coming from the student council president. Shizune hides a laugh behind a cupped hand, and I start to think that I might be worrying for nothing. But then her laughter slowly fades away to a more serious and pensive expression. You're right. Yesterday? I catch the hint of a knowing smile on her face when she sees my poorly hidden panic at the word. Despite her best efforts, she can't help being satisfied and eliciting surprise from everyone else to the very end. Even then, I can see that she has bigger concerns from how quickly her smile vanishes. Before either of you noticed me, I saw what you were saying. I'm not stupid. If I hadn't, I could still see through Misha while we were walking back. Even if you hadn't told me everything later. Or even if she hadn't told me everything later. She didn't make it a big deal out of it, but any way you look at it, it's my fault, isn't it? What did she tell you? Shizune winces at the question, though it's clear she's been expecting it. She follows it up with a very grand gesture. A lot. Like that I can be selfish and confusing. I tried too hard to bring people around me and then push them away. I didn't know what I should do. I thought she was right to mention all of those things, so I just agreed with her, but only made things worse. I just don't understand. Adjusting her glasses, she looks pretty tired. I hope that isn't because she's been busy avoiding Misha, but I can't help considering the possibility seeing where this conversation's been going. It's true, even the student council being this small and us always being swamped with work is my fault. I might have even ended up driving a lot of people off and away from the student council acting like that. Shizune wags a finger mischievously, acknowledging that might is an understatement. However, from how wearily she does it, it's obviously the humor is only to put me at ease and therefore not genuine. Like Lily, for instance, she was the first person to join when I started trying to recruit people again after everyone else left, because they couldn't stand me, I guess. We managed to put together the last festival and even ran a booth together at the last minute. But I didn't like her because I thought she was selfish, always holding us up in order to tend to one friend of hers or another, and leaving Misha and I alone to sort out things involving the whole school by ourselves. If there were any problem she was going through, she would leave us high and dry while she panicked over it, wouldn't come back until it was solved. She'd focus on it 100% and be too preoccupied to focus on any student council work. That was the worst to me, that she could be so nice and still take so many people for granted. Why even join the student council then? It seems so short-sighted and selfish, don't you think? But it's actually me who's that way. Like Nisha said, always trying to pull people close to me and then shutting them out. That's how I've treated her, which makes me a bad friend. And it feels like I did the same thing to you then, so I guess I'm a bad girlfriend too, even if Misha says that you might as well replace her. I'm angry that I screwed things up enough for it to get so out of hand. All I wanted was to... She pauses to look for the right words, tenting her fingers in concentration. Make people happy, I think. Even though that seems like a simple way to put it. As she rests her head against her hand, Shizune's bangs fall delicately across her eyes, hidden behind those polished glasses, reflecting the light just a tiny bit. It may be wrong to think so, but right now she seems especially beautiful, like a more complete person. It feels like this is my first chance to respond to her outpouring of emotions. Replacing Misha as Shizune's interpreter? Misha must be joking. It took all my energy to keep up with her just now. Her signing filled with gestures I've never even seen before. Likely their habits picked up from Misha and developed from years of them being together. I could never replace someone so close to her. I like you because I like you, not because I got tricked into it by you. Although that helped. Despite how hard she tried anyway. I continued to stare back into her eyes, as sharp as ever. The first time I saw them, they had seemed a bit intimidating to me, like the eyes of a predator. That hasn't changed, which I find reassuring. I still want to make everyone happy. Starting with Misha. Shizune looks a bit annoyed that I would imply she would start with anyone else. Then she smiles confidently, as though a friend's sadness is a physical opponent she can just strangle into submission. Of course, obviously, naturally. Taking off her glasses, she leans back in her chair and lets out a sigh. It's the first time I've seen her without them on, but I don't get a good look at her before she slips them on. But I'm too tired to start today. First thing tomorrow. You want to help? Yeah. And I have other student council stuff you can help me with while you're at it. Although it turns out there isn't that much other work at all. Gosh, another day down and we're not even halfway through the episode yet. Knock knock. Excuse me. There's no school today, so I expected to be able to sleep in late. Unfortunately, I'm awakened by someone mercilessly pounding on my door at 8 in the morning. At first I think it could be Kenji, but when my shouts of annoyance go unanswered, I realize it's Shizune. She immediately backs away from the door when I open it, quickly concealing something behind her back. Kind of ominous. What's that? Is it a surprise? I don't really like surprises, given he has a heart condition. The displeased expression on her face says that she wants me to stop being such a wet blanket, but she's too busy fumbling with what's behind her back to sign it. It must be frustrating for her, because seconds later she swings the object out proudly and also a little dangerously. Ta-da! A picnic basket. We can have lunch together, the three of us. It's not really a basket, it looks more like a plastic bag. Taking a look inside, I can see that most of the food inside is also store-bought, not homemade. Some of the items still have the price stickers on. There's a very diverse selection here, though. Even a tiny tin of caviar. I'm slowly becoming more impressed with this lunch. I pick a grape out of there and pop it in my mouth. Don't just take things like that. I spent all night perfecting this final weapon. Shizune places it down on the ground on the ground to free her hands up, and immediately starts playfully tapping it between her feet like a soccer ball. Definitely not what you should do to anything you're going to call a final weapon. All part of my get Misha to stop being so depressed plan. I stayed up all last night working on it. When we tried to order it in last time, Misha barely got anything and then used it as an excuse to leave early. I won't let her get off so easily this time. The food's already here, so she'll have to sit down and eat with us. It's the perfect bait. Doesn't everything look irresistible? I tried to make it myself, but I don't know how to make it look all so fancy, so I ended up buying everything. Still looks delicious, doesn't it? It should be. She's really perky today, juiced up on the thought of cheering up Misha. Although it's odd to see her so happy about it, I know that she's just as unsure now as she was yesterday. The only thing that's changed is that by viewing it as another sort of challenge for herself, she can put her worries aside and just throw herself into it recklessly. It has worked well enough for Shizune so far. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the only way she knows how to live. It's a little early, though. It's already 8 in the morning. That's late. Even Misha gets up at 8 or 9. She goes to bed at 7 p.m., but that isn't important. It's very important. Shizune ignores me, gagging my hands by taking them in hers instead of a more proper rebuttal. The way she lingers against me a moment longer than expected feels really comforting. The point is, she's awake right now, walking around somewhere. Let's go find her. She sprints out the door impatiently, and her gusto as she drags me along for me, she makes me feel like I'm following a hunter on a safari more than looking for a mutual friend. We don't have to look very hard, though. Even cropped short, her pink hair stands out. And the fact that she's just meandering around the grounds out in the open makes it even easier. Now I'm sounding like a safari hunter. Ha! Misha! Huh? We were just looking for you. It's a good day for a picnic. You should join us. We have caviar. Not sturgeon, of course, but really tasty. Caviar? Sturgeon? Apparently finding it annoying to have to explain everything at length with only one hand, Shizune gets it quickly. Fish eggs. What? It tastes good. Sorry, Shi-chan, I think I'll pass for today. When Misha starts to walk away, Shizune holds the bag out towards me, needing to take it so that her hands can be free. As soon as it's out of her hand, she darts in front of Misha, cutting her off. I made so much food, though. Sorry, I'm just not hungry right now. When are you going to be hungry, then? Shi-chan, that's impossible to know. You could guess. The tension between them infuriates Shizune, and she's trying to deal with it by trying to tear through it. But that approach is not going to work. I'd thought and hoped that Misha had gotten herself together, but I guess she was just cut too deep by what happened. In that case, it's really out of anyone's hands. I believe that Shizune might understand that on some level. If she didn't, she wouldn't have any doubts at all. Because she can't speak, though, I've learned to notice her hesitation. It's very clear. She might as well be screaming. Misha waves her hands in front of her, not wanting to continue the discussion any further, and quickly slips away. Shizune fumes silently, reluctant to let her go, but having no way to keep her here. As Misha's back grows smaller in the distance, I wonder where she's heading off to. Is Shizune wondering the same thing as she bites her lip in frustration? I want to touch her reassuringly on the shoulder, but I stop myself, not knowing if that's the right thing to do. Not because she looks fragile or vulnerable or sad. It's the opposite. After a while, her expression belies no emotion at all. Only contemplation. Suddenly, she whirls around. Now all this food is going to go to waste. Yeah. That makes me mad. Although it's obvious Shizune is more hurt than mad. The bag dangling from my hand feels like it's filled with lead. Let's go on a date. Let's use it then. Where do you want to go? I don't know. The roof? It's my favorite spot. A wry smile appears on her face, disappearing just as quickly. On the roof, I immediately crack open the caviar, ignoring a derisive look from Shizune all the while. I end up putting it down immediately. Where are the toast points? I didn't make any. Like I told you, I bought everything. Not toast points, though. Why is that important? Anyway, they don't just sell toast points. That'd be stupid. I bet they do. Maybe in stores for the exceptionally lazy, but not here. Why don't you use a tortilla chip? Tortilla chip is not the same. They're both triangles. Stop being such a princess. I didn't know there was a proper way to eat caviar. This is the first I'm hearing of it. It's not the same thing at all. I can't be decadent like this. And anyway, how could she not know? She lives in a huge mansion. Shizune takes the opportunity to scoop half the tin onto a single chip in the meantime. Hey! I'm sure it doesn't even taste good like that. There is too much food here for 2 people. Because we can't communicate with each other while we eat, both Shizune and I have a lot of time to sit in silence and think about the fact that Misha, the person that she set all this up for, isn't here. It's annoying she isn't here. I can't even enjoy my meal like this. I stare at the paper cup next to her, still half full of juice. I thought you didn't want all this food to go to waste. I wanted Misha to be here too. That was the whole point. I wasn't able to accomplish what I wanted to, so it doesn't taste good. You should eat it. Eat more. I want the fried things, though. You keep eating them all, even though you say they don't taste good. Fried things are always delicious. There's an exception for them. You get fat. I think you're being too aggressive. It's like I told you yesterday. I'm only trying to cheer her up. Yeah, but it seems more like you're planning a military campaign. I'm only trying to take it seriously. And this is the only way I know how to do it seriously. I feel so powerless. I hate it. I can't even yell at her, too, even though I want to. Yelling is for serious occasions, right? Yeah. You should yell at Misha for me. You can tell her that I want her to stop being so down. Even if she feels sad and alone, it's no reason to stay gloomy forever. Why don't you? I already did. Over a game of dice. Under over, to be exact. I won! 5 times! Only the 2 of them would take so much pride in winning games of pure chance. And then I tried to talk to her, but it didn't go so well, obviously. Well, so did I. I tried and failed. My goal has always been to do everything better, though. Yeah, your one-upmanship is really something. But I failed, too. That's why I want your help. I don't understand what I'm supposed to do anymore. For someone like Shizune, who's only ever interacted with the world by locking horns with every obstacle in her path, understanding only goes so far. I want to tell her that she doesn't have to worry, that she's great at cheering people up because she managed to cheer me up my first week here. In retrospect, I must have looked like kind of a dick, being such a sour mood from the moment I came here. Even though I don't think I was being unreasonable. You weren't, Hisao. Dumbass. Even having months to digest it, finding out that you have a heart defect like I did is hard to deal with. I had much less time to mull over suddenly being transferred to Yamako on top of that. Spending the festival with Shizune really helped me out of a rut. I was happy, enough to forget the entire time that I felt as though she were manipulating me. I understand now that I had allowed myself to be manipulated. Even though I felt like I was at the bottom of the world, I still wanted to have a normal life again. I'm sure, because I enjoy what I have now. I think it must be the same for everyone, including Misha. Everyone wants someone there to pull them up out of their self-pity. It's just that Misha always wanted Shizune to be that person, but because they can't be together, I think that Misha feels like she can't accept Shizune's hand. And that frustrates Shizune. But if she could cheer up a stranger like me, then she'll die trying with Misha. I can see it in her eyes, though. Or I can see it in her eyes, too. Though she tries to treat it like any other problem in her life, Shizune cannot do that with Misha's depression. Her thought processes are entirely different, in some ways more careful, in some ways more reckless and frenetic. She cares that much more. I end up not saying anything. Partly because sitting next to her like this, just the 2 of us, is pleasant enough in itself that I don't want to interrupt the moment with a question. And partly for a more cowardly reason. I started to think they weren't, but I don't know if her actions that day might not have been an afterthought or even a fluke, just a collection of coincidences. I don't know if that would change anything, but I'm uncomfortable thinking about it. The fence behind me trembles slightly, and I turn to see that it's because Misha has fallen... Misha. Whoops. I turn to see that it's because Shizune has fallen asleep leaning against it. Considering she was up all night, it's not surprising. Where does all that motivation come from? Not just in regards to Misha. I'm cynical, so it's hard for me to just accept that anyone can be simply that strong. My first thought was that maybe it's because she hates herself. Very plausible. Leaning against her, I feel sad knowing that might be the case, but it could be that we're similar and that we both want people to get better. Or that we want to be better people, sorry. Oh boy. Do I really want to try this? Yeah, what the hell. We'll go for a little extra length on today's episode. Why not? It seems like I ate too much yesterday because I woke up in the morning feeling just nauseous enough for it to be a problem. I really can't postpone going into town for shopping, though, so despite wanting to roll over and sleep it away, I forced myself to get up and get dressed instead. Somewhere between buying toothpaste and a few other groceries, I end up walking it off. Then I feel hungry. After stopping for breakfast, it hits me how much time has gone by. I hadn't expected the day out this long at all. I'm not even sure if I bothered to lock my door. I really should get back. When I get back from the dorm, or to the dorm, I see Hideaki standing in front of my room from the entrance. I can think of a few things more unexpected, and I can't help thinking I might have a heart attack just from the surprise. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. As soon as he sees me, he says hello in his usual detached way. I'm a little slow to reply to him, so he repeats the greeting without missing a beat. Hello. Is something wrong? I'm just surprised to see you here. Not as surprised as I could have been, since it's impossible to mistake it for anyone else. I'd recognize those weird clothes anywhere. Come to think of it, I've really surrounded myself with distinctive-looking people lately. It's because you're in a video game, so... Hideaki's head lolls slightly to one side, a little too easily. Why? Is it unusual to see someone's family come to see them? Well, yeah, actually. So Hideaki isn't such a robot after all. In fact, it's almost as if he's more caught off guard by the fact that he can even be caught off guard, but he recovers quickly. Nevertheless, in that brief moment, he looked his age. That uncomfortable side of his seems like the more honest, and I wouldn't mind seeing more of it. Not so much, though, that I'd go out of my way to pry. Only Shizune would be that zealous. That my thoughts get so far as proof that she's rubbing off on me. I'd like to think that you have a reason, that's all. There is one. See? Anyway, we can talk while we're looking for her. That's why you're here, right? Shizune's in the student council room. I was looking for you. We might take a trip soon. A family trip. Do you think she would want to come with us? I don't know. She's kind of been on the warpath lately with a lot of stuff. And when she's focused on something, she won't just drop it. I guess you would know that. Hideaki looks much more at ease walking around than I did my first week. So this isn't your first time here? Just throwing it out there. Of course, completely ignoring the surrounding environment, or just could just run in the family. But it explains why Hideaki seems so distant from Shizune. I get the feeling there's more to it than just her deafness. No, but this is the first time I could walk around so much. It's kind of weird here. I bumped into a person who told me women are not allowed in the dorms. After I told him I'm not a woman, he told me I was misleading and then accused me of being an assassin. I was warned that he was not only invincible, but strong enough to probably destroy the building with a punch, or at least knock over the painting hanging in the hallway. By the way, that painting is actually screwed into the wall. Yeah, that's the guy who lives across the hall from me. He's okay. I see. Oh, you left your door open. It was unlocked when I came here. I'm a little annoyed that Hideaki knows that. The only way he could find out is if he'd open my door, but the feeling passes. It doesn't matter. I have nothing to hide, or steal. Your soccer ball is really nice. That's one of the things that doesn't matter. If you're a soccer player, a soccer ball is very important. I guess it is. The thought makes me smile. I'm here because my father bought a new phone. He wanted to update Shizune. in case she needs to call in. I thought that you should know too, since you're her boyfriend, aren't you? Yeah. Why? Just in case there's something wrong, or she needs anything. It isn't what I meant, but I'll go along. Even if she did, she probably wouldn't call. That is how she is. Well, if you know, coming all the way here for that, though? You could have updated her via email. He does not like using emails. That's so old-fashioned. Don't tell me he still does business through regular mail or something. Silence. Now it's my turn to feel awkward. Is Hideaki taking it literally, or did I hit the mark? Nah, I'm sure what it really comes down to is that he does want to see his daughter and stay in contact with her. In the end, they are still family after all, even though they play at being at each other's throats. Oh dear, it's Jigoro. The door to the student council room is open, and Hideaki and I walk in on Jigoro mid-rant. He sees us, but decides that it is not something worth stopping rambling at Shizune over. This is really shaking my faith in my previous assumption. When I was in the student council, our room was smaller, colder too, like working out of a meat locker. Not like you spoiled kids. What a waste, sitting here in your giant room doing nothing. Aren't there only 3 of you? That makes having so many desks only seem like an unnecessary display of mindless decadence. Appalling. You must use the desks you need, not one more. It's part of my code. It may be odd of me to think so, but hearing only one half of the conversation is pretty strange. Also, that's some code. Now that I've arrived, he changes the subject and starts talking about the reason he's here. Hideaki and I are going on a trip. What are you doing? Does everyone who uses sign language mumble while they do it? No, but I'm just an amateur. It helps me think. It's kind of like force of habit. Just an amateur. Unbelievable. Fine. He turns back to Shizune just in time to catch her shaking her head from side to side. Are you sure you won't be coming along? She reiterates the gesture. Fine. Can you tell her to call me if she needs anything? Yes. I really think sending an email would have been easier, though. I'm not going to read emails on my phone. If she won't speak, she can call Hideaki. I suppose if I have to be reached, you would have to call me, or that other girl would have to call me. Actually, all 3 of you can just call Hideaki. And with that, he swiftly turns and leaves, Hideaki trailing behind him. A long trip for something that took 5 minutes. Neither of them can express their feelings very well. In Shizune's case, I have to question whether she would if she could. It explains a lot, but she doesn't seem unhappy with the arrangement, even though I wonder if she might be. When the door closes behind them, leaving Shizune and I by ourselves, she lets out a deep breath that seems to echo in the silence of the room. It's totally ridiculous asking me to go on a trip. The timing couldn't be worse. It overlaps the student council elections for one. Second, I haven't even cheered up Misha. If you consider that, it's annoying for them even to have to think about anything else. Yeah, but you might be too focused on all of that stuff right now. Shizune adjusts her glasses roughly. Completely 100% right. The minute I decided I was going to cheer up Misha, everything else went on the back burner, I suppose. I think your dad might care about you more than he lets on. I know. So then it could be a good idea. No. And then again, more firmly, is it for both of us? No. After coming this far, I can't take a break. A vacation would be jarring. It'd be like waking up in a different life. Yesterday was my vacation, so now I have to go all in. I'm sorry, but it's just how I am. I remember what Yuko said, that she found Shizune brave in a kind of way. I think I understand what she meant, and I have to agree. Even though it also could be called recklessness and foolishness and pointless stubbornness, I guess you could call it bravery too. However, I can see that there's a fundamental flaw in Shizune's thinking I hadn't noticed until now. I'm sure that Shizune has reflected longer and more arduously than I could about where she messed up to create such a bad situation between her and Misha. However, as typical for her, she wouldn't let it hold her back and immediately set out to fix the problem. This completely ignores a large part of the problem, Misha herself. Moving from critical introspection to holding Misha up as a part of the goal causes a person to get lost in the shuffle. Shizune has said a lot in the past few days, but nothing about how Misha feels. Shizune's way of thinking is abnormal. Few normal people would reject a friend and then expect things to go back to the way they were so easily. Shizune does because she sees life as, if I had to put it simply, capable of being segmented and compartmentalized, which drives me fucking bonkers. Misha, like anyone else, sees it as a whole experience, a long, continuous journey where one moment of heartache can follow you forever. For Shizune, an event is an event, and few of them cross over. Life is compartmentalized around triumphs, failures, and decisions where each one stands in its own story. It's why the thought of the vacation is jarring to her. It's why she can only appreciate people's immediate emotions. Because she's technically being written as a video game character without actually knowing she's a video game character. Ugh. It's exactly how someone obsessed with living in the moment would think, really. Likewise, Shizune could see Misha as a friend, but I doubt that she's ever thought of Misha as anything more until recently, or questioned anything about her. Misha as Misha would be enough for her, even if to Misha it must be unbelievably stifling. Shizune is just Shizune to herself. It's likely she doesn't even think about the after effects of her actions in the long term, as long as they stir up other people's lives. To Misha, though, I'm sure it made her seem almost heroic. Like Yuko, admiring her bravery, and even myself. And Shizune's thoughts on that sentiment are that it was good that she could touch someone's life. But it ends there. It's easy to captivate, much harder to nurture. On to the next thing. Thinking of life in terms of almost completely isolated events has a tendency to isolate a person, too. Though she's trying to remedy it now, the point remains. There is simply no way Shizune could have avoided hurting Misha. Her emotional investment in Shizune was something Shizune couldn't account for, so she didn't. Combined with her personality, it was inevitable. Both of them have pretty much told me all of that in bits and pieces over the past couple of months I've known them. In the middle of considering their differences, an idea begins to take shape in my mind. Are you working on your plan right now? This second? Your Cheer Up Misha plan? Of course. I was thinking about it the whole time I was being yelled at. Flicking her glasses up the bridge of her nose with an oddly triumphant air, she taps her finger against her temple. It's multitasking. Really? Isn't it more like you're able to concentrate on something like that because you can't hear? Well, whatever. When I ask her what she thinks of mine, it turns out that we both arrived at a similar idea. Oh, thank goodness. An end of a day. I thought it was going to go on. Okay, we're going to cut that off here, folks. So, yeah, that's going to be all. Okay, well, that was interesting. Looks like Shizune and Hisao have finally come up with a plan. I can only hope that it works. It might not. If it doesn't, then Misha's going to be a grump all the way till graduation. If it does work, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. So, we'll all just have to wait and see. Maybe next time, maybe the time after. We'll find out. Anyway, I'm your host, Neo Mega Man, for part 19 of Let's Play Katawa Shoujo Shizune's Path. Signing off. Until next time, folks. End of line.